This is Dr. Matthew Dunn, host of The Future of Email Marketing. My guest today, beaming in from Arizona, is Andy Seeley, CEO of Creatively Disruptive. Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell people a bit about your company. Always a fun place to start.
Yeah, so Creatively Disruptive, we're a team. We've got a team of about 15. We specialize in funnel building, basically, using Google, Facebook, email marketing. It's like the holy trinity, so to speak. And then with conversion rate optimization, so making sure that your website actually converts the traffic that gets developed by those three things that work together. We're really good at building that machine, and we generate either ecom sales, like through, if you got an ecom site that generates sales directly, or through small business or business lead generation, where you want to get inquiries to do business with you. And that's basically what we do. We're pretty good. We have clients from Australia, New Zealand, where I'm from, New Zealand, all the way through the United States, Canada, and the UK. English-speaking world is where we do our business. Majority is in the United States.
Yeah. And you mentioned ecom. Ecom is a big sector because I think I saw that on the company site. Yeah,
we do a lot of ecom work. I would say from a standpoint of numbers of clients to, that's like we have, like, let's say 100 clients. We have probably 25% of them are ecom, but it's a big part of the business because it's a lot of work, right? We have a lot of smaller clients as well that don't take as much work, but they, from a numbers standpoint, they make up the numbers. But I would say the majority of our revenue probably is from ecom.
Interesting.
Mainly because we're performance driven, so we have a retainer. But if you worked with us, we take a portion of the sales if it gets over a certain number. So we like to have skin in the game.
No, I was just going to say, nice to see an agency with skin in the game, because it makes everybody's behavior, sort of motives, line up, right?
Yeah, and it's a I like to say that digital marketing has got to the point, if you've got a good product and a good service, it's a mathematical equation. It's not like, well, let's see if this works, or, man, I wish I could have some magical marketing person sprinkle some fairy dust and maybe something will happen. It is actually a very complicated math equation that you can go through, and as long as the service and the product is wanted, you will get results if you do it correctly.
Nice. Well, that's a good assurance right there, and you wouldn't be saying it if you hadn't lived it.
Right.
What are the challenges in doing what you do?
I mean, here, this is going to sound really bad, but who cares, I guess. I always say we could guarantee results for people. I could give you 100% guarantee, Matthew, on your sunglasses, ecom site or whatever, if you had one. I could give you 100% money back guarantee that we'll get your results, outside of the fact that you're a part of the equation. So you make decisions as a business owner, you do different things that we don't have control over. We don't control you as a part. You are the uncontrolled part of the equation that I can't guarantee. And I think most good agencies probably would feel the same way. And that's oftentimes why we can't, right? And I'm not saying that you're a crazy nut job who might do some crazy nut jobby things. It might be simply you run out of stock, right? I'm not buying your stock, but you run out of it and we can't sell it. And it starts cratering, because, with the algorithm, it's a thing that once it starts going, you want it to keep going. And it's a job of just keeping the thing rolling. And the more you keep it rolling, the easier it is. If you keep stopping it and then starting it and then stopping it, it slows down its growth, and it makes things a little bit more difficult. So, and it might be out of your control. One of our clients right now is having major supply issues because they get their products from Mexico and China. And we all know, we've all heard of the issues with the supply chain, just getting it across the Pacific, and even getting it from Mexico is difficult because the Mexican manufacturer gets some parts from China, right, and gets some parts from different parts of the world. And that's not necessarily because they're a bad client. It's just that's out of our control, right? As your marketing company, we don't control that. So if we could control every part of it, I feel that most good marketing companies could probably guarantee their services. And we come about as close as that you can with that performance element, right? We're like, hey, we bet on you. You know, we think you're a really good company that can do really, really well. We'll take a small retainer to just make sure that you're engaged with us. But then if we knock it out of the park for you, we're gonna be rewarded as you are.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's a refreshing approach, and as I said, alignment of motives. A lot of Shopify platform customers, I would think, in the e-com space.
Yeah, WooCommerce and Shopify, we like Shopify.
Yeah.
Shopify has a lot of flexibility. It works well with a lot of the platforms.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking about email marketing. Klaviyo works well with Shopify. Works well with WooCommerce as well. It also works well with Facebook and so forth. So integration is really important.
Yeah.
Seamless integration that doesn't break down at 1 o'clock in the morning when you have some crazy, you know, Black Friday deal running. You want everything to work well together, and you know, Shopify seems to be one of the most you know, integratable platforms for ecom, especially.
It's quite a and WooCommerce as well, but it's been quite a success story watching Shopify.
Yeah, I mean, buy their stock. If you bought their stock a few years ago, you'd be doing quite well today.
That's true.
Going through the roof.
They're a nice balancing force for the, you know, many small businesses sitting on top of their tech platform versus you know, Goliath, Amazon being the obvious one, running their own system. So it's
I do think, even though Amazon is the 100-pound gorilla, especially in the United States, with such a dominant part. I mean, I've got a, you know, and I have this love-hate relationship with Amazon. As a marketer, I hate them. As a consumer, I love them. I buy lots of stuff from them. I don't not buy from them because I'm a marketer that hates them. I still buy stuff from them, right? But the reality is, even though they're a 1,000-pound gorilla that's out there, I think if you've got a unique, cool product, there hasn't been a better time to be able to very easily compete with them. Right? Because if you've got a unique product, don't put it on there and market it yourself. Have control over the whole thing. Have those customers that are coming to you be your customers, not Amazon customers, because that is obviously, and talking about email marketing, which I know is your thing. It's very hard to get involved in the email marketing game with an Amazon shop.
Right?
I would think. You don't own the platform, and you don't own the experience. You don't own. Now, the Amazon experience is good, but it's a little bit like if you bought your sunglasses. We'll say that you've got that sunglass company again. If you're a supplier of Walmart, those are Walmart's customers. They're not yours. You've got one customer, and that is Walmart. If Walmart decides they're not going to be happy with you and they don't want to work with you anymore, you're out of business. That's the same with Amazon. That's the way Amazon is. But if you've got these really cool sunglasses that are very unique in the way they've made and whatever it is, there's something special about them. Build your own website. It allows you to develop your email list. It allows you to be able to do your own marketing and have control of your own space, and no one can take you out.
Yeah. I do think it is, and I agree with you. And the data foothold you're keeping for yourself as well in the equation you suggested, as opposed to saying, sorry, I'm not picking on Amazon, I'm a loyal customer as well, but you know, if they see, you know, pink triangular sunglasses selling like crazy, next year they're gonna sell them themselves.
Oh yeah.
So you just handed them market research for free.
Right. And that happens all the time.
Time.
I've seen that. Like, if you have a product that they see is booming, even though it's your product that you're selling to them on their platform and they're making 40% on it. If it's doing well enough, they're going to go to their own manufacturers and make it the sales and keep 60% of it, 70% of it, and put you out of business. And you're competing exactly with Amazon. But I mean, I actually think the reason why most people need to be doing their own email marketing and need to be doing with their own website platform and their own sales portal with e-commerce is to have control over their customer, right? Because most times you don't have as much control, if any control, if it's a sale on Amazon.
All right.
But I like to know that I'm getting sales from these areas. I like to know that maybe most of my sales are coming from Florida.
Right. Right.
Most that kind of data is interesting, right? That means if I'm getting loads of clients, if I'm doing nationwide advertising and it just seems to be Florida is where everybody's purchasing my product, I'm getting no sales in Washington.
Right.
With Facebook and Google, I can pinpoint Florida, right?
Yeah.
Now, unless you've got billions of dollars of advertising spend, that's kind of information that's really good because you can't advertise to 320 million Americans. I'd much rather niche down a little bit, at least in location, and actually, have my advertising dollar be a little bit more powerful and a little bit more of a smaller space.
Yeah.
And then you start collecting the email, and the beauty of email, obviously, as you know, is it's a whole platform. You're not going to have like Facebook, talking about big conglomerates that can cause us problems as business owners. Facebook tomorrow might shut your account down. You can't advertise anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Google could do the same thing for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've seen it even because your personal account, right? And this might get a little political saying this, but your personal account might be saying stuff that Facebook doesn't like. And because it's attached to your business account, it actually dirties the water. And then suddenly you're getting red flagged a little bit more, and maybe things come up, and that kind of stuff doesn't happen in the email marketing space. As long as you're behaving within the spam rules and making sure that the people on your list are people that want to be there and want to hear from you. As long as you're doing that, you pretty much can do whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Well, and as you implied accurately, ownership of that permission relationship in that channel is between you and those prospects and those customers. You not paying someone else as a gatekeeper,
right,
in the middle there.
And our most successful clients, and when I say most successful, like highest ad spend clients, because no one spends a lot of ad spend if they're not successful. We have a couple of clients that are spending 170,000 a month, right, on ad spend. 30 to 40% of their revenue is coming from email.
Wow.
Right now, the 60% that isn't coming from email sometimes is not even it's definitely not as profitable because they're spending a lot of money on Google and Facebook and these platforms to be there. But that 60% is also building up your email, because all of that 60% is feeding that email list. And that email list is tremendously profitable, because outside of paying a platform for a number of emails on their platform, which, depending on the platform, can be more or less cheap or expensive, but it's definitely not the same cost as 100,000 ad spend on Facebook.
Well, it's list variable. If it's message variable, it's pretty small, right? Like, I want to send twice a week. Doesn't necessarily mean your cost went through the roof, because the send cost isn't necessarily.
The cost usually is based on how many subscribers you have, right? So if you have 100,000 to 10,000, you're probably spending more on the platform. But to reach 100,000 people on Facebook will probably cost more than to reach 100,000 people of that kind of level, like somebody who's already engaged, already loves you, already wants to do business with you. Reach 100,000 of them on email. The difference in cost to you as a marketer is
night and day. Night and day. And the message from you is from you. You're in control of the design, the context in which it's read, all that stuff, right? It's not
when it's sent, when it arrives, when they get it.
No algorithm in the middle, so to speak.
A lot of the platforms are so powerful now, when I say so powerful, that they're really well thought out, where they give you a lot of really good data, like what day is the best day to send these emails out, what time of the day is the best day to send these out, to get some of them have optimization systems where you don't actually choose when or what time. You just say, I'll leave it up to the platform to send it out. And it's powerful. A lot of our clients are getting 30-40% open rates.
Wow. Quite good.
Because it's one, because these people have opted in, obviously.
Sure.
But two, because it's being sent out at the right time. It's the information we've been able to collate to see what people like, what people don't like, and we can sculpt sculpture the message to make sure it's much more likely that they're opened, right?
Yeah.
And there is that rule that I know you've spoken about on other of your podcasts, but it's that give 10, take 1 kind of rule, right? So give 10 very valuable emails that are very helpful to your customers, that gives them added benefit, that you're not asking for a sale, right? There might be an easy little link to buy something if they want it, but you're not saying, hey, here's a you're not sending out 10% off offers, or hey, here's a special deal, or blah blah blah. You're giving actually life improving information. And then the 11th one, you might send a, hey, 10% off this raincoat.
Right.
We've just been talking 10 emails about walking in the rain.
Right.
Now we're going to sell you a raincoat.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. You have it. Well, you have the opportunity and the latitude to, to add value to the relationship, earn the attention over time, and repeat attention over time, which definitely adds up. I was discussing with a guest this morning the notion that even if someone doesn't read your message, the fact that they see your name or your company name and they see the subject line, like over time, that
There's
adds
value.
up in their head. Yeah.
And that's why your headline or your subject line is really, really important, right? And don't throw that away. Make that thoughtful.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my PR company that contacted me with you, right? And they were like, again, maybe I'm giving too much information, but they're like, Andy, recently you're always like a few days late in paying. What's going on? And I'm like, I never see your emails anymore. And they're like, what do you mean you don't see my emails anymore? I'm like, I always see yours, Jessica. Jessica is her name. Jessica, I always see your emails, but I never see any invoice that comes through from you. So we did a little search, and sure, she just changed something. And what's been coming through is her PR company's name, More Than Press. But I associate her with Jessica.
Right.
And that's in the headline.
Yeah.
And I said, that's the problem. I'm seeing More Than Press, and I know that that's your company, but I'm not associating that with you. And I'm just not opening it, not looking at it, and I'm not thinking about it.
Right.
Can we just change it back to that so we can get it, taken care of? Because I like to look at these, especially my PR stuff. I like to look at those kind of things come through myself instead of just sending it off to our bookkeeper. So, just that in itself shows the power of making sure that the name on the email is something that is going to make them go, oh, that's that.
Yeah.
And remember it, because she made that one change and I stopped opening her invoice.
Yeah, there you go. Which, not a bad message to get opened on her side.
Right. It's an invoice.
Where do you, if at all, have text messaging fitting into the life cycle for your clients?
So I was talking to you offline about one of the biggest things I think is the next game changer, and email is still part of that process of getting someone to reach out to you or getting a inquiry, right? And what the disconnect is that communication between actually me speaking with you as a potential customer, because most businesses still need that some kind of human interaction, right? Unless it's e-commerce, if it's a lead, if it's like a landscape company, if it's if it's an insurance agent, if it's a real estate agent, at some point someone's got to talk to somebody, right? And they got to have a relationship and start doing business with each other.
Yeah.
And where a lot of times the breakdown is between the lead being generated or the inquiry being generated and the actual conversation happening. Because as humans, we're people, we sleep, we eat food, we not always looking at our leads to see if they're coming in. Like I might get a lead that comes in on a Sunday night. No one's dealing with it until Monday morning, right?
Right.
That's enough time for that person that sends that inquiry to maybe cool down a little bit, be a little bit less interested. So when my salesperson calls them on Monday morning, they're a little bit more likely to not answer it. They're a little bit, well, I can't be bothered. I'll deal with that later. If my salesperson called them the moment, or emailed them the moment, or texted them the moment that they sent the inquiry, there's probably a high likelihood that they'll respond to that.
Right.
So a lot of the disconnect is in that immediacy kind of transition, but also you can get leads at a very low cost for almost any industry. The problem is the quality of the leads, right? So a lot of times with marketing companies like myself, we'll build out, intricate, like friction producing things to actually weed out the people that aren't so serious about doing business with us. So we'll have people jump through a series of hoops, which might be asking them questions, taking details, getting them to look at a calendar, booking in the calendar, all of that kind of stuff. The problem is that it might take your cost of a lead from $30 to $300, right? Which, again, is cost. But usually the lead is maybe a slightly higher quality, but you still need to sometimes have to chase those people up manually, and some of that gets lost. With some of the stuff that's starting to come out, and I'm starting to see this is the next thing, is there's definitely some SaaS, software as a service programs that are starting to be developed that are really taking advantage of very smart AI that is allowing lead follow-up to be done automated immediately, consistently, and relentlessly, to actually take those 300 leads where if me and you had them, we'd start calling through these leads and start feeling sorry for ourselves after about 40 calls that we've made, and we start half-assedly doing what we're doing. And by the time we get to 300, we maybe have got 20 calls out of it, and we go, oh, this is a whole bunch of wasted leads. This is crap. Why would I even do business with this company anymore? The reality is because we're humans, and we do 20 calls and we don't get any answers or whatever, we start feeling bad for ourselves, and we start getting lazy and maybe skipping some stuff or whatever, or we're not calling immediately. The system, the relentlessness of AI could mean that instead of getting 20 of those 300 booked, we get 100 of those 300 booked, just because it's taken out the human softness, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And we're seeing that starting to be something, and we're actually working on some things right now to see if we can really supercharge that. And we're going to test it, and we do a lot of research, and I guess you'd call it research and development on using all the different processes that there are out there and building them together. Like we were talking about having Klaviyo working with Shopify and Shopify working with Facebook and stuff. That's a very simple way of connecting things. But when you start bolting on all the other stuff, it becomes a little bit of a pot that you're brewing your magic juice from. And that's oftentimes the difference between a really good marketing agency and one that really doesn't do well, because they don't understand that mix of all those ingredients that can make a really good, effective marketing plan or marketing strategy turn into revenue. Because ultimately, all marketing is about revenue. People hate marketing. No one wants to do marketing. No business owner, no baker decides I'm going to open a bakery, and I'm so excited to do some marketing. That's not what they think. It's, I want to make money, right? So any marketing must ultimately result in revenue. And if it doesn't, then it's bad marketing. So that breakdown in lead generation, where that human element has to come in. So say a real estate agent gets a lead, someone interested in buying a house, that real estate agent's got to chase that lead, right? Got to chase them to get, and that person might not answer 5 days in a row for all sorts of different reasons. It might be that they're not interested, but there also could be that they've got a sick kid, that they're on vacation, that they've got this, they've got that.
Right.
And if you can take out that human element where we start going, oh, maybe this person just doesn't want to do business with me, I'm going to maybe not try as hard. And we can turn it into an automated system that is kind of relentless, but still feels like a human.
Right.
It's pretty magical. And there's a system that we just found, which we're working through. And I actually, when I reached out to them to actually say, hey, I'm interested in maybe trialing your product with some of our clients and so forth, they responded immediately. I reached out to them on Sunday, on a Sunday night at 9:20. They responded immediately. I was like, man, these guys are good. And they sent me a nice message. It seemed like a person was talking to me. I was like, oh, hey, how's it going? And they, we're doing good. Hey, saw that you're interested in our product. I was like, yeah, I really am. I said, would you like to talk to us next week? And I said, yeah. And they said, when would you like to talk? I said, Wednesday. I said, okay. They said, yeah, Wednesday looks good. We've got availability at 5, 6, and 7. When would you be available? And I said, 6 works best for me. And that's what I'm literally writing in. So it's all stuff that I'm writing. I'm talking to somebody. They said, you know what, Andy, we've got 6 o'clock works for us. I'll put you in. We'll send you an email and confirm this, right?
Wow.
They sent the email and confirmed it was all there, and I was in. And I'm like, oh, this was really good. I like that experience. And I was really excited right away because I just saw the ad and got involved with it.
Yeah.
Next day, followed up, got a phone call, right? Didn't answer it, but it went to voicemail. There was a live voice, a human voice saying, hey, Andy, great. I'm looking forward to speaking to you on Wednesday. Talk to you then.
Yeah.
Got an email, got a text next day. Looking forward to talking to you. Same voice, different type of message, but like he was saying the same thing, but he didn't say the same thing. If you know what I mean? He said it like, anyway, come to find out when I actually get to the thing, the guy who I was actually thinking I was talking to, I never had spoken to. It was the AI talking to me. And I thought it was him. I thought it was a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how good it's become.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of stuff that I think will be the solution for a lot of people down the line. It's kind of expensive right now. It costs us, we bought the license to it. It's cost us $6,000. So it's not really there for everybody right now, but I think that's where it's headed, right? So when you send out your email marketing campaign to try to stir up some interest from past people that have maybe worked with you before, anybody that maybe responds, you can actually have an AI system that starts responding to them all, especially if you've got a large email list and you might get 20, you might have 100,000 people that you send a message out to and get 3,000 people respond. That's a lot of work to do, right? But now you can have one or two salespeople instead of 20 dialing and smiling. You could have 2 or 3 really good closers who are just getting bookings booked into their calendar.
Yeah. It's also an opportunity. The same change in technology, advancement in technology capabilities strikes me as quite applicable to service as well.
Yeah,
I
see AI. Yeah, I see AI being. AI excites me and scares me at the same time. Scares me for multiple different things. One, it's like it could become our overlords. That's just from a human scared standpoint. But I love the AI that I'm seeing come through, but I also could see how AI ultimately could put me out of business. Right?
Maybe.
What we do.
The scenario you painted is a bit daunting in that, it's more efficient. It's more efficient than not getting a response, but sometime down the line, I could see prospective customers being even more reluctant to sort of pull the trigger, knowing that they're going to get reliably hounded by Robbie the robot. Right? It's like, I mean, filling in your email address is enough of a pain in the ass right now. You're going to get ding, 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 ding. When it was like, I don't even remember why I signed up for that, but I'm still getting messages from them, right? It's like, if it starts to be a more efficient, looks human, and is relentless follow-up, it's going to be, my reaction is I'm going to be even more wary.
The good news from a marketer standpoint that I'd say about that is that the only people that would be coming through would be people who are serious about actually
self-filtering. Self-filtering. That's fair.
Which is good. Which is a good thing, right? Because it's always the frustration is having people who've filled out a whole bunch of information, then you end up calling them and talking to them, and I'm not interested in this. I wasn't interested. And it's like, well, someone was.
Someone was. Well, and like that. It's not the low quality lead is a high quality person. It's their actual interest, or attention, or availability, or whatever that are low. Like this isn't actually whatever widget I'm selling isn't actually enough of a priority. It was yesterday.
And a really good example of that, I can actually give you an example of that. We had a gymnastics gym that is still actually a client of ours that we do marketing for. And they contacted us and said, we're getting loads of leads, but these leads are crap. No one's interested.
Yeah.
We're like, that's weird. So we actually called the leads ourselves. We're like, we gotta find out what's going on with these leads.
Yeah.
And we called the leads, and across the board, what ended up happening is they said, well, we were interested, but they didn't call us for about 4 days, and we just signed up to another gym, or we just signed up to soccer, or
Right.
we signed up to this. So they were interested, but
The
and that's
window
always
is-
the thing about leads, is that leads cool down, right? You want to get on a lead as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the AI comes in. I mean, the other good thing about the AI is that if I want to opt out, I can say stop, and it's stopped, right? So you end up getting to that yes or no thing, which is something from a sales and revenue driving is really, really critical. And I say this to everybody that I work with or consult with, is that, what's great is yes, right? We all want yes. What's good is a no. We should be trying to get that if we don't get a yes.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can get is a maybe, or let me think about it, or here's unlimited access to my voicemail, or so forth, because that just eats up time, right?
Yeah.
So what I like about where AI is going is that it takes our time out of the smiling and dialing kind of stuff, which is heart, soul destroying, so to speak, for a human to do.
Yeah.
And it relentlessly pursues the person until they say stop.
Right.
All right, then it stopped and it's gone, and they move on. And I think if we as users, let's say, take ourselves out of the marketing space and actually be the person being pursued, if we learn to say stop, then it's okay, right? I'm okay with being pursued by something that I have an interest in, that I can opt out of if I decide that I want to.
I was on a discussion with email marketers a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about unsubscribe and preference centers. Like, is it better to say, like, I got a message from someone that basically said, click this link so I know you're still reading my stuff.
Yep.
And some of the email marketers like, that's not a great idea. Why? Because if you don't click the link, does that mean they'll boot you off the list because you're adding to their their numbers in their ESP? Possibly, but if they don't think there's any value to having you in there in the long run, they're probably mistaken, because you were interested enough to say yes in the first place, and you haven't said no yet. So leaving the door open is probably mathematically in their interest. This problem is going to get worse with Apple's impact on open rate measures. Right, you're not going to
have
know less and less. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to know less and less about who's actually reading.
But I do think, like, it'll go back, it'll step us back from an analytics standpoint a little bit, but I think still the ultimate is how many people stay subscribed. Right. Because, and I want people to unsubscribe.
If you're
not interested,
that's your yes and no.
Yeah.
Right. Fundamentally.
Either we continue or we don't. Right. And that's okay. It's my job to actually get to a yes or a no. And an unsubscribe means you're not interested, and move on. That's fine.
Yeah.
And that's why Google and Facebook, and that's why having a system that feeds itself. So because the email marketing is great as long as it's being fed, right? And something's building your fresh list, right, of new people. And that means you can pursue those unsubscribes. What you don't want is unsubscribes because they're pissed off with you.
Yeah.
Right. So, so making sure that you're not sending an email every other day. Although we did once have a client that recently actually left us that would send an email every day, and her followers loved her, but she was a very unique thing. They loved her. They loved getting emails from her. She got very low unsubscribe rate, but she had very rich content. And the people that subscribed to her email list were fans, like evangelists, so to speak. That's a very different thing. If you're an insurance agent, my advice is maybe send one email or two emails, one email a week, maybe, and just give it a little bit of business advice.
Well, someone who can send something every day and gain that loyalty, for them, it's a content channel first. Marketing is an after effect,
right?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, there are email newsletters I get that I read every day, but it's because of what's in the message, not because of what's on the other end of the hyperlink.
Right.
Exactly. And they have to be pretty good to get that level of attention, and that's a lot of work. That's a lot.
Exactly. But if you're pursuing the unsubscribe by weeding out those that really should be very interested in doing business with you and not. I think that's not a bad thing. I think sometimes email marketers or email campaign managers get a little bit too concerned about having too many unsubscribes. And I think as long as you know that your content isn't annoying and you're not operating in an annoying way, then the unsubscribe is actually a win. It's not a loss. It's actually not a bad thing at all. It should be seen positively.
Yeah, philosophically, I agree with you. I don't see that as predominant practice in the email marketers that I speak with.
Sure.
A lot of them verge on neurotically needy when it comes to their list. You're like, keep people at any cost.
I think a lot of though is if they're email marketers only, they're not. I'm less concerned because most of our clients, when they work with us, we start supercharging their list, like because we don't have any email only clients, right? So if someone works with us, they've got a Google campaign, quite sophisticated Google campaign running, which captures all of the high intent people that are searching for help, right?
Yeah.
That those people go onto the website, regardless of iOS 14 and everything, sure, these are really cool things, but we're still, iPhones are still maybe 30 or 40% of the population when it comes to phones. So it's not, terribly, horribly affected. I mean, it's affected things, but it's not like, the death knell of marketing. So all those high intent Google people go to our website, our Facebook page picks it up. We remarket to them through our Facebook page and Instagram. So whenever you decide to look at your mom's cat or see what's happening to your brothers and sisters in other states or countries, you're going to start seeing that stuff that you have a high intent interest in. You then click on it and go to a landing page or whatever, and it captures your information. That then feeds your email marketing, and then your email marketing, usually over time will ultimately do the trick. So if you've got that kind of system, then it's actually not a bad thing to have those unsubscribes, especially if you're paying on a platform that you have to pay per X number of subscribed, emails, right? Because you don't want to have 300,000 emails and be paying for 300 emails to be served when only 50,000 of them are actually really customers of yours. The rest of them are people that have no interest in your business.
Right. Well,
that's my feeling.
The contextual thing that makes that behavior tougher than it should be is the relatively bad actors that make unsubscribe difficult tend to build a habit of not unsubscribing even when you should. Like I look at my inbox and I go, that again. I didn't
what
read
happens,
it. I should
happen.
unsubscribe. What's
that? They should end up going to spam, and then Google flags them, and then they get taken out.
Yeah. They but that's a different, that's a different overload. Do I want Google in charge of what I actually read? No. Right. No. So yeah, it's a toughie. And email recipients, I've been thinking about this for a blog post. Email recipients don't own up to their responsibilities very much, right? Like if I sign up for a list and I'm really never going to read it, I should get off my butt and unsubscribe. I really should.
Right.
Do I? Not always, partially because it's historically more difficult than I want it to be, and it's not worth 5 minutes of fighting with a website. Say no, I really don't want to hear from you. Right. And the mechanism itself, email itself, does not have a feedback loop built in to do that. There's no way in email itself purely to say drop me. Right. Now you could build a reply bot that said if you reply to this address, we'll drop you, but no one's going to figure that out.
I think just my advice to anybody that is thinking how they should set up their email, if they've got a system that's constantly feeding new interested parties into your email list, to actually make it easy, like click the unsubscribe button and the button comes up, says click here to unsubscribe, click there, done. Should be as easy as that. Don't are you sure? Sad face, are you sure? Can give us some feedback? Blah, blah. No, don't just move on, get the new person in. Like when I back in the day, my first job in the United States was working as a sales manager for CarMax. right? CarMax, the auto superstore,
Mm-hmm.
that was founded by Circuit City, which no longer exists anymore. When I as part of your initiation to be a sales manager, you have to show that you can sell cars, right? And so for 1 month, you're a salesperson. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to be a sales manager in this store, I want all of them to know that I know my shit, and I'm going to be the top dog for that month. And my job was, and the beauty of CarMax is it'd be this constant flow of people coming in, and that's one of the great things about CarMax is always people coming through the door. So the idea is that you get somebody, you walk them through the process, you try to help them find a car. If there's no car that they want to find and they want to leave, let them leave. Don't try to keep them and do all sorts of different gymnastics to try to keep them on the lot and try to keep them involved. And hey, if you can't find the car that they want to leave, let them leave and get back on there and speak to the next person and move on. Get that yes or no.
Yeah. Yeah.
The great thing about CarMax is that they almost had every single car that you could ever want.
Yeah.
And I ended up selling like 30 cars that month. So I did really, really well. But the idea there again is just help people, give them what they want. And if they don't find it or don't want it, let them leave.
Yeah.
If they really want to come back, they'll come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let them leave and move on to somebody who you can help. This constant obsession with wanting to be liked and wanting to have the biggest lists and all of this, it's not about that. It's about the effectiveness. And it comes down to, from a business standpoint, always what I said before is revenue. It's either making you money or it's not. If it's not making you money, something that you're doing or the way you're operating is not right.
Yeah. 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 And if it's not valuable to clients, that's a root problem you got to fix.
Revenue is all. Who ever gets excited about doing an email marketing campaign? Maybe some people do.
Yeah.
But really, as a client, if a client wants their email marketing campaign to be done by me, they're excited when it develops revenue.
Yeah.
They're not really excited when it's a wonderful HTML designed email that goes out. They're not like, oh gosh, this is the best thing since sliced bread, and then no one buys anything.
Right.
They're not happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the objective, the business objective there was, move the dial.
Revenue. Yeah. Right. And it might not be that individual email, but it might be that flow, right? You might have those 10 good things that warm people up and make people feel good about you, and then that one ask.
Right.
So those 11, it's ultimately the goal of those 11 emails that have gone out is to get us a payday, is to generate revenue.
Yeah.
And if it's not doing that, then relook at how you're operating, because you're not doing it right.
Sounds like it's valuable for you to work with clients over time, like to get to know their business and really systematize some of those things, because that's not an overnight fix that you just described.
So if I'm talking to any of your listeners that are thinking of going the agency route, it's really important that you stick with an agency for a period of time, because some things do take a little bit of time, and there is that funnel does take time to fill up, but once it gets going, it can really start taking off. But what that means also is when you're choosing your agency, be very thoughtful about that process of coming on board. Don't get excited by a couple of like 1 or 2 meetings where they tell you everything you want to hear. Look at their process of how they bring you on board. Look to see if they're really interested in you, right? The suckers, if I'm going to use like New Zealand kind of terms, the suckers out there are the ones that come in and say, I just want to know the price. Just tell me the price of how much it's going to be to work with you. I just want the price. Yeah, whatever. Just tell me the price. Those are the suckers, right? Because they're going to end up working with an agency that doesn't really know what they're doing. And that agency is just going to go, well, what's the price that you want? Well, I only want to pay $2,000, or I want to pay, okay, we'll take $1,000 from you to do some work for you.
Yeah.
And that person is taking whatever that person can afford, possibly, because that's why they're so fixated on cost. And they can't really deliver. They don't really know what they're doing. They don't have the expertise. And the reason why they're willing to take $1,000 is because they need it to pay their mortgage, because they don't have enough clients. Look at agencies that are very interested in you and your business before you spend money with them, right? That goes through processes to actually find out about who you are and what your goals are.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, email marketing is not like, even though it sounds kind of complex, and we've probably made it sound complex, email marketing, Google ads, Facebook ads, these are things that are somewhat complex. But if I got a smart young college grad in, within 6 months, maybe 3 to 6 months, we could turn them into a very good email marketer. We could turn them into a very good Google marketer. We could turn them into a very good Facebook marketer. So it doesn't take 9 years like a doctor to learn how to do Facebook marketing. It's not rocket science, right?
Right.
What's important though is knowing the client and knowing what, and I think you mentioned this, knowing the client and what's important to them and understanding them. So when you're selecting an agency, which I think most people should, it's getting so complicated now that either you need to hire a specialist internally, and really you end up needing to hire 4 people internally because you need a conversion rate optimist, if that's a word. You need a Google specialist, you need a Facebook specialist, you need an email marketing specialist, and those oftentimes are not the same people.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find that same person being able to do all those things.
Yeah.
And you're probably paying them $5,000 to $10,000 a month each.
Yeah.
Right, depending on how good they are.
Yeah.
And you can hire an agency and pay a fraction of that and actually have all of those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it makes sense, because I think the average person just cannot be. You might be really good at Facebook ads, or you might be really good at email marketing, but you're missing parts of the puzzle.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you if you're jumping into that and then jumping out of it, you'll
Right.
miss the rhythm that gets the relentless machine
Because
going.
again,
You were talking about.
Matthew, if you're selling sunglasses,
Yeah.
there's other things that you're doing, the marketing, even though as an ecom sunglass sales guy, the
Yeah.
email, the marketing is a very big part of your business, right?
Yeah.
Marketing is a massive part of ecom, but there's still logistics, there's still delivery, there's still customer service, there's still manufacturing, there's still all that you got to take care of.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's a good it's a good note to wrap on, because it underlines the value that a solid agency can bring to a long-term relationship.
But I will say there's a lot of crappy agencies out there. So my tip to everybody is, when you're interviewing agencies, be looking for the agency that is interested in you, that is interested in your business, that asks the important questions, that sometimes might ask emotional questions that, oh man, that's pretty deep. Like, look for that, embrace that, because then you'll know that you're working with an agency that actually cares, that actually really wants a result, not just the result that they think is a result, but the result that you want.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We actually take it to an nth degree, that even the first time you spend money with us, we're still digging deep into what you have got going on. Like a architect might look through a house before renovating it, right? You get a plan together to know what you're dealing with before you start spending money.
Yeah.
You don't spend money on fixing a house before you know what's wrong with the house.
Right.
That kind of stuff you want to be looking for when you're searching for your agency.
Yeah. I had a guest on a few months back who runs an agency in the East Coast, and he was describing how much they invest up front in the book on a client. He said we go way underwater in terms of resources invested in a new client, because we can't succeed if we don't really know them that well. So we've got to be willing to do that, banking on a long-term relationship with them, and being able to do something that requires that level of knowledge of them.
Yep. And if the user or the client is finds the right agency, then give them the time to build out all the things that they need to build out, to start running the data through it, to start looking at the trends and all the numbers, to actually to optimize what's going on. And then once you do that, I mean, geez, I've seen clients. We've literally had clients go from 5,000 a month to 900,000 a month.
Wow, there you go.
Right.
Wow.
And the problem is no longer marketing. The problem is, geez, where do I get a warehouse? How do I find delivery drivers and all that kind of stuff? Right.
Yeah. Got it. Well, if someone's listening to this going, I really want to talk to these guys, where do we send them, Andy?
So go to creatively-disruptive.com. This is the best thing. There's a whole bunch of information on there. We've got lots of stuff going on there. You can reach out to us. I think it's info@creativelydisruptive.com. If you want to reach out to me directly, feel free. Hopefully you've got like a bazillion listeners, so I'll have a million emails tomorrow.
There you go.
As Andy@creativelydisruptive.com. You can reach out to me directly. I have an Instagram page. I think it's small business sales coach.
Yeah.
Or you can search for me, Andy Seeley, on Instagram. You'll probably find me somewhere in there. I do have a Twitter account called Andy Disruptor,
Yeah.
but I never go on it because I'm done with Twitter. I can't stand Twitter. I hate the angriness that people are throwing each other on there. Like
I'm with you on Twitter and not going there. For me, it's the noise. It's like it never shuts up.
Right.
It never actually hits a conclusion or builds a structure and says insight. It's just like churn.
I never go, like every time I go onto Facebook or Instagram, there's something that either makes me smile a little bit or I go, oh, that was interesting. I think I follow some good stuff and I engage with some good stuff. I've never gone to Twitter and gone, that was great.
Yeah.
I've always gone to Twitter and gone, oh my God, why did I come and have a look at that for? Why did I bother? So don't send anything to me.
So don't send anything to Andy on Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, my guest wrapping it up has been Andy Seeley, CEO at Creatively Disruptive. Andy, pleasure to speak with you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
I'm going to hit stop.